In our last lecture, last weekend, we were talking about the number 9. And today, we are now going to talk about another number, very friendly in mathematics, the number 5. And the reason why I'm giving you numbers and their behavior is because mathematics is nothing but numbers and science. Any mathematical problem, you are either adding, you are either subtracting, dividing, or multiplying. And what are you using to do that? You're using numbers only. So if you understand numbers very well, then you become a great mathematician. So let's look at another friendly number away from the 9, the number 5. The number 5 is one of those greatest numbers. And let's pick the sign of multiplication where 5 is the multiplier. And in 5, you're going to meet two categories of multiplication. Either you'll be multiplying even numbers by 5, or you will be multiplying odd numbers by 5. So I'm going to deal with those categories, odd numbers and even numbers. And today let us begin with multiplication. Now, and before we do that, I want you to understand what I mean by 5. 5, in my meaning, should be understood to be a 5 without any 0 at all, or 5 with a 0, or 5 with the 2 zeros, or 5 with 3 zeros, and so forth. I want you to understand that 5 is either 5 with no 0, or a 5 with as many zeros as you may care to put. That is still a 5. So 5, 50, 500, 5,000, 50,000, 5 million, 5 billion is still a 5 in all respects. So we are dealing with a 5 in multiplication, and we are dealing with even numbers. The multiplicand is an even number, and the multiplier is a 5. So let us suppose we are dealing with 42 to multiply by 5. And anybody can see that number at a glance if you know the trick. So write down this sentence. When multiplying any number by 5, just divide the number by 2 and then add as many zeros as the number of digits in the 5. In other words, just take half of that number and add on as many zeros as the number of digits in the 5. And what I mean by number of digits, some students confuse that I mean zeros that are on the 5. What I mean is the entire number of digits in the 5 that we are dealing with. So, this is what we do. If it is a single 5, that's a 1-digit 5, you add on only 1 0. If it is 50, that is a 2-digit 5, therefore you add on 2 digits. If it is 500, that's a 3-digit 5, so you add on 3 zeros. So now let's go. 42 times 5. At a glance, take half of 42, which is actually 21. And once you have gotten that half of 42, look at the 5 you are using. It's a single digit. Therefore, add 1 0 only. And the answer to 42 times 5 is 210. And even a grade 3 child would multiply by 5 mentally, provided that he or she is well trained in dividing by 2, in taking half of the number. So let's look at another number like 56 times 50. When you look at this number 56 and you are an expert at dividing a number by 2, then you see it's 2800. You just take half of 56, which is 28, and then the 5 you are using is 2 digits, 1, 2, then put 2 zeros, and your answer is 2800 or 2800. And you can continue. If you have 438 times 500, this problem should not bother you at all. 438. Half of this number should be 219. It is 219. And then once you get that half, you look at the 5 you are dealing with. 1, 2, 3. It's a 3-digit 5. So you add 3 digits here. So this answer is 219,000. And this process is so easy. All you need is to know short division method by 2. A short division method by 2 is what will get you there. So suppose we have 1627,8 times 50,000. You see, in the class, the way our mathematics is taught, this one is going to be a long problem. But then you can easily follow what I told you. Just take half of the number and add on as many zeros as the number of digits in the 5. So what is a half of 1627,8? It would be 8139. Once you have gotten a half of 16,278 as 8139, you now go back to the 5 you're using. How many digits does it have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has 5 digits. Remember, I'm not talking about zeros. I'm talking about digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now you add 5 zeros on 8139. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then when you sector this number, you find the answer being 813,900,000. And you can write your answer always in one line only without scratching your head trying to calculate this and that. 5 is a very friendly number to deal with. So many problems you can see the answer mentally. Let's say our multiplier is 500. And let's look at these numbers. What is the answer to 444 multiplied by 500? And the answer is 222,000. How? I've taken a half of 444 to be 222. And now 5, the 5 I'm using is a 3-digit 5, so I just added 3 zeros at the end to get 222,000. And any child can do that, as long as the child knows how to divide any number by 2. So, what do you think 8 times, say, 50,000 is? You know 50,000 will be 5 zeros. And you take half of 8 to be 4. So it is just 4 and 5 zeros at the end. You just keep doing that and you keep scoring your marks so highly, so that when problems come, they are worded, and those words are just like clothes. The really person is different. It's not the words. A farm has 42 orange trees. That's the words. A farm had 42 orange trees. Every year, each tree gives the farmer 500 orange fruits. How many fruits does the farmer harvest in 1 year from his farm? So you take the number 42 and the number 500. 42 trees, each tree producing 500 oranges. To get the total number of oranges is a mental problem. Take half of 42, which is 21, and 500 is 3 zeros. Add on 3 zeros, and therefore the answer is 21,000. The farmer then harvests 21,000. And you are able to put the answer down mentally as you look at the problem. So all this is in our books, The Making of a Mathematics Genius, and also The Master of Numbers, Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, and Book 4. So there are very good textbooks, the course books, that are recommended by the government. And I always advise parents to go for those books. But additionally, I tell parents that these kind of skills are not in our textbooks. And that's why we are having our students suffer in mathematics, because they do not know how to manipulate numbers. They do not know the behavior of numbers, whether it is an addition or it is in multiplication or it is in division. So they keep struggling. And I always make fun, because we are taught to count on fingers. As we are introduced to mathematics, we are introduced to counting fingers or writing sticks on the board or on the paper and then counting them. That 5 times 4. So we are told you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 5 times 4. And so we are told that we count how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we say 5 times 4 is 20. And that is how we are introduced to our mathematics. Now let's look at a scenario like this. A scenario like this. 1050 times 5,000. Now you have that scenario where your training is on counting, and now you have a number that you cannot count. Now, if it is using the fingers, I have always asked, how many people do you want to stretch their hands so that you count the fingers to get an answer of 1050 times 5,000? You need the whole of Bungoma town, and you will not even get to that answer. Even when they take off their socks, stretch their toes and their fingers, your method of counting like this won't give you an answer. And if it does, it will give you after 6 months. You will make blunders in counting, you will make blunders in writing those sticks down and so on. How easy would it be for you to train a child on division by 2? That when you take half of a number, this is what you do. So that the child who knows short division by 2 will take 1050 and slash it into 2. The half of 1050 would be 525. So once a child reaches to 525, then he looks at the 5 he's using. It's a 4-digit 5. So the child just writes down 525, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it is 5,250,000, and in one line only. And the child is not sweating, the child is so relaxed, the child is enjoying his mathematics. Technique, good skills. So these skills are lacking in our recommended textbooks for mathematics. And that's why I'm saying you need to have those skills, because mathematics will haunt you the rest of your life. If you don't know numbers and their computation, then you will suffer the rest of your life. There used to be a neighbor of mine at one time who owned a shop. And so there were 3 shops in the neighborhood, but each time we sent the children to go and buy something in the shop, they went to this neighbor. All the time they went to this neighbor. And we used to ask, why do you like that shop and there are 2 other shops around? Then later on, a child told us the secret, that we like going to that shop because the owner doesn't know mathematics. You give him 100 shillings and you want to buy something of 40 shillings. The owner returns 90 shillings as change. You have something of 40 and you have 90 shillings. So we take 90, we bring home what we are sent, but then instead of giving 60 shillings change, we give our parents 60 shillings change, the right thing, and we return 30 for our sweets. So that man gives us wrong change, And we like going there because we'll have some more money for our sweets. Can you imagine children having pleasure in buying in your shop, and you think you are the best shopkeeper around, and yet in a short while you will be off. You will be sent out of business because you are returning the wrong change. That's why I insist that children must know the manipulation of numbers. Maths is about addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Whatever problem you find in the world, it will be asking you to add, to subtract, to divide, or to multiply. So these things are called operations, or sometimes computations, which you badly need so that you are successful. And along with that, you need to be super genius on numbers. You need to understand the behavior of numbers. Nobody has stopped you to buy even 40 course books, beautifully bound and so on. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that is wrong is that you will not be genius if you don't go an extra mile to get something slightly different. Today, I have children I trained in the 20s, 2003 up to 2017. They are still calling me today. Some of them are doctors, engineers, and so on. They are saying, Dr. Kundu, thank you very much for making me who I am. You gave me numbers that are assisting me so much in my life, in my career. And that is why we still want you, the school-going one, to become a master of numbers. Once you are a master of numbers, you will never have a problem in mathematics. Never. Okay. These are even numbers being multiplied by 5. Just take half of the number and then add on as many zeros as the number of digits in the 5 you're using. If you are using 5, is a 1-digit 5, just put 1 0. If you are using 50, is a 2-digit 5, just add on 2 zeros. If you are using 500, is a 3-digit 5, add on 3 zeros, and so on and so on and so on. If you are using 5 million, is a 7-digit 5, add on 7 zeros. And you'll never go wrong. But you must be supersonic at taking half of the number. Now, let's look at a few mental questions. What is 22 times 500? Now, I would say it is 11,000. How did I see 11,000? At a glance, I took half of 22, which is 11, and I looked at the 5 I'm using is a 3-digit 5. I added 3 zeros on it. It became 11,000. What is 64 times something like 5,000? Then I should see the answer as 320,000. How do I see 320,000? It's because I first of all take half of 64 to be 32. And then I look at the 5,000, the number I'm using to multiply. It has 4 digits. So I add 4 zeros on 32. And that then gives me 320,000. It is fun. It is play. If you are a master of numbers, you will enjoy your mathematics. But above all, you will be successful in your career, because every career demands a knowledge of mathematics. And as I told you before, there are three categories of numbers: the plain numbers, the numbers ending in zeros, and numbers with the decimals. So if I was dealing with the numbers in the decimal category, and I was multiplying using the same thing, then I would say 6.34. Multiply this by 0.05. What do? I set aside the decimals and deal only with 634 times 5, where I take half of 634 to be 317. So once it is 317 as half, then the 5 I'm using is only one digit. So I put 10 here. Once I've gotten to the answer, then I come back to the decimals that I've set aside. How many were they? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I put in this answer 4 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer is here. 0.3170, which can be correctly written as 0.317. You see how easy these things becomes. Let me give you another example. $846, let us say 84.6, we want to multiply that by 0.05. You want to multiply that by 0.05. What do? Ignore the zeros for the time being and deal only with 846 times 5, where you are going to take half of 846 as 423. This is 423. Then, because you have assumed that there's no decimal, you are dealing with a single 5. So add 10 on it. Once you reach that point, then you come back and consider the decimals in the problem. And how many are they? 1, 2, 3. So put 3 decimal places in this answer. 1, 2, 3. So the answer is 4.230, which can also be correctly written as 4.23. And that's your answer. You have no struggle at all. You are behaving like a genius, absolutely. And that's when you win your exams. And that's when teachers will love you for getting to the answer which would have needed a calculator to do. You are doing it mentally and accurately at a very short time. So 5, whether it is in decimal form, ignore the decimals, assume you are dealing with a whole number, then work as normal, then after that return the decimals. Decimals should never ever bother you in multiplication. So set aside the decimals deal with the plain numbers, and return the decimals. Plain numbers, I mean, like in this problem, 84.6, you just say it is 846. And 0.05, you just say it is 5. Those are plain numbers. 846 times 5. Get to the answer and then put back the decimals that are in the problem. In that way, you become supersonic. If a goat in a shop is going out for 5,000 shillings, and the Kenya Meat Commission is going to buy from a certain farmer some 832 goats, and each goat is going for 5,000 shillings. This looks a big problem, but it should not bother you at all. Just take a half of 832, which is 416. Once you are at 416, come back and look at the number of digits in the 5 you are dealing with. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a 4-digit 5. Put 4 zeros on this. And then when you sector this number, you find that Kenya Meat Commission is going to pay to this farmer some 4,160,000 shillings. And you do it in one line only, because you understand the behavior of 5. And when you are dealing with even numbers. So I want every child to be a tough genius on numbers. Because as I explained last weekend, it's not the method by which you do the job that matters. What matters is the result. Is the result okay? Because if you don't have the best method to do, then you keep suffering. The other day I was observing some fundis putting up a house for my old mama, and I saw something very interesting. The fundi came with a power saw, and he used the power saw to cut the joints, where he'll place the timber on top of each other and look at the angle that he wants to cut and just cut. A job of 2 seconds is a job that would take a person with a normal saw, that manual one. It would take him 15 minutes to make one joint. But the result would still be the same. Now, would you like to spend 10 hours on 10 joints, or would you like to spend 10 minutes on 10 joints? The method is not important. The result is what is important. And there are so many methods of doing mathematics in the world as there are people in the world. And nobody has a right to force another one that this is the way it should be done. Mathematics is not a Bible where you cannot change a verse. Mathematics is a science that survives or grows on research. And every day, as people research, they are coming up with newer methods. The methods that are much better than the previous methods. So this is an advancing world, a scientific world, where you, as the child, must be able to come up with the latest and swiftest methods of doing things. And some of us call ourselves GNCs or .coms. What would be the use of you calling yourself a GNC and you're going to spend 1 full hour solving 832 times 5,000? It's good to have newer knowledge. In the Bible, when God asked Solomon what he wanted, then Solomon said, just give me wisdom. Because with wisdom, when I'm wise, I'll do things the best ways ever. So wisdom is knowledge. Seek ye the knowledge. So that is what I want to give to you today. In the next weekend, I will be teaching you how to multiply odd numbers by 5. Just remember that 5 will still be the same. Either 5 or a 50 or 500 or 5,000 and so on. But now we shall not be dealing with even numbers. Our multiplicants will not be even, they'll be odd numbers. And I'll be teaching you on that. So parents, I want to address you with a lot of respect. Nobody is discouraging you from buying the course books that the government is recommending. Indeed, you must buy them. The only thing I am saying is that those books, those recommended textbooks, do not have this knowledge of computing. They have the longer, slower, tedious methods, which will never make you a mathematics genius. So, while you study the way the textbooks that are recommended are working, which is also very important, then along with that, study this other way of working like a genius. So when you have read the two, you will be able to compare and contrast. And then in your future careers, you will want to know what you want to use. A lawyer is expecting some 50 clients, each one to come up and pay 444 shillings for opening the file. How much is the lawyer expecting? 222000. Yeah, 22200. 444 half is 222. 50 is only 2 zeros. He doesn't have to struggle at all. He will know what to expect even as he is driving off to attend an urgent court case. He is going, but he is telling the clerk, collect 22,200 from those people. How beautiful is it? So parents, I want you, and I address you very humbly and sincerely, that in your home, have my book called The Mathematics or The Number Wizard. It's called The Making of a Mathematics Genius. The Making of a Mathematics Genius. Along with that, you can also have the small books called The Master of Numbers. And these ones are in 4. Book 1 the Master of Numbers, Book 2, the Master of Numbers, Book 3, the Master of Numbers, and Book 4. Whichever you choose, The Making of a Mathematics Genius or the Master of Numbers, all those 4 small books, your child will be so well trained. And even you yourself, I'm sure you are in business where you are using numbers. In your free time, you just lie in your sofa set and look at one method or another and start applying it all over, making your business life so easy. So, The Making of a Mathematics Genius or the Master of Numbers, Book 1, Book 2, Book 3. Please have that in your library. And now coming back to the school order, you have your children in primary and they want to do mathematics. After you have given them these books I'm talking about, then you also need to give the CBC Primary Mathematics Revision. It's a small book, the CBC Primary Mathematics Revision. That book will take your child up to, I think, grade 9. Form 1s have been using that book with great success, CBC Primary Mathematics Revision. Because mathematics is a continuous subject. There's no place you say this is the boundary. And even when examiners set, they are still setting all classes. Because the numbers they are using are only 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. So they cannot change. They just use that. So those are the small books I'm saying, the Master of Numbers, and there are 4 of them. And there is the book, The Making of a Mathematics Genius. It's bigger than this one. You can have that when you want. So, for primary, CBC Mathematics Revision, plus the 21st century mathematics formula. There is no mathematics with no formula. So once you know the numbers and you know the formula, it's all systems go. The only thing you are missing would be the English, because mathematics is set in the English language. But for me to solve that, I have said you buy the high school English notes, which can be used both in primary and in high school. It's just one book, the English notes. Once a child is a master of English, then his history is in English, his geography is in English, his English is in English, his mathematics is in English, his CRE is still in English. So he is understanding the media of communication. Parents, make sure in your home there is a library for high school English notes, because English carries most of the subjects. It's only Swahili that is tested in Kiswahili. It's only French that is tested in French. The rest of the subjects are tested in English. So it's good. So I finished with the primary level. Now let me come to high school level. Mathematics is a menace, and especially for girls. But I see no reason why it should be a menace. Parents, get your daughter or your son to have the Form 1 mathematics notes. If he's in Form 2, get him Form 2 mathematics notes. If he's in Form 3, Form 3 mathematics notes. And if he's in Form 4, get him Form 4 mathematics notes. And some people think mathematics is not a reading subject. I'm telling you, it's a reading subject. Get these notes. And if your child is in a school where these notes have not been provided, I would recommend that buy the full set from Form 1 to Form 4. And you change the life of your child at school. And that's our aim here at West TV and West FM, to change the education of our children in this country. We are educators. So get those books, and then should you feel that you want other subjects like history, like biology, like physics, like chemistry, even English itself, then again you can contact me and we shall source these books for you. Always second opinion is the best, and even doctors who are very qualified always go for second opinion. These are second opinion books that I'm giving to you, and your child will succeed very well. So for you to reach me, don't look for these books in bookshops. They are not there. For you to reach me, just call 0721 901 429. 0721 901 429. Finally, the careers of your children lie in the Universe and Man, small book. Your child is brought into this world with a calling to do such and such. It is in that book. It will give you the date, birth of your children and the careers that pertain with them. Don't couple with the career of your children. Give your child the career that he is destined for, what we call his calling. So reach me on those numbers I've given you, and thank you for watching us. Until next weekend, it's bye-bye from Dr. Kundo.